It's that time again. I mean, how many Motown groups are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 tops. Oh, hi, Bobby here. Continuing from our last lesson in which we looked at some open string licks, we're now going to work with what I sometimes call the pentatonic no man's land scale. Before we start, don't forget to pick up my free blues rock phrasing course that you can find in the description below. Please hit like and subscribe if you like this content, and stick around to the end of the video for the bonus lick. Now, throughout this lesson, our underlying chord for the backing track is an E minor 7, or you can just use an E minor. If you've followed this series so far, you may remember that we started out just using 4 notes, or 4 notes and a bend, giving us the E minor pentatonic scale, the 5 notes of the E minor pentatonic scale. We then started working with a scale that some people call the frying pan scale, because it apparently resembles a frying pan. We played that across 3 octaves. We incorporated box 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale with that, and we came up with lots of phrasing, vocabulary ideas using just a small area of the fretboard. And then in the previous lesson, we started working with open strings and playing some open string licks. And it's possible to build a really strong blues rock vocabulary using just these core ingredients. But what that does leave us with, especially when we're working with the E minor pentatonic scale, is this huge uncharted gulf in the middle of the neck that no one's touching. You know, and it's very common for guitarists to start out down here in first position, then jump all the way up here to the 12th fret, and you know, just sort of leave this area untouched, a bit like this. And that sounds fine. You might want to use that for effect, you know, that very quick kind of jumping in between octaves. But we have this whole area here, which is a replica of what we've already learned up here. So in other words, if we take what we call the frying pan in the lower octave, starting on 10th fret, so 10, 12 on the low E, 10, 12, up to 14 on the A, and then we kind of go into box 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale. We already established that we can get a lot of vocabulary out of that area, and if this doesn't make sense, then do check out the previous videos. But we can replicate that down here. Exactly the same notes, slightly different fingering on the B string. Exactly the same notes in exactly the same octave, but just played on different strings. It gives us a slightly different timbre. Our root note is on 7 on the A string, but let's start on 5 on the A. So we've got 5, 7 on the A, and then we've got 5, 7, slide up to 9 on the D. So that's a little frying pan in itself. If that term doesn't make sense, do check out the previous videos. And then what we're doing, we're going into effectively what we would call position 4 of the E minor pentatonic scale. We go 7, 9 on the G, 8, 10 on the B, and 7, 10 on the high E. And you know, you can play licks like this. That typical lick that you might play in position 1 on the E minor pentatonic scale, between the G and the D strings, you can replicate it down here. Why is that important? You know, if you can play it up here and play it down here, exactly the same notes in the same octave, why would you want 2 options? Well, it's got more of a kind of twang to it. And obviously it opens up more of the fretboard for you, so why would you not want to do that? You can take a classic double stop like this If you've ever played that, where you bar the 12th fret on the G and the B strings, tease it slightly sharp, and cut it off with the root note on 14 on the D. Sounds great up here, but you can play it here. You play 7 on the high E, 8 on the B, keep the first finger still, but bend the B string slightly sharp, that kind of microtonal bend, and then your root note is here, on 9 on the G string. I mean, that just screams blues to me. It's the same notes as here, but you know, it's got more of a kind of spank to it, so it's good to have both options. And because you're only bending one note on the B string slightly sharp instead of, in this case, the G and the B strings, you're going to get different overtones there. Or you may know this double stop in position 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale, where you go this compound bend we looked at in a previous lesson, you know, where you've got 15 on the B string and you bend 14 on the G up a whole step. And just kind of mess around with that. Well, you can play that here. Different twang to it, same notes, same octave. So that's 10 on the B string, bend that up a whole tone, catch 10 on the high E, release it, and then I just played 8 on the B, followed by 9 on the G, instead of so just to recap, this is the same as this. Obviously there you've got the high E to play with. But in these positions, or this area, this no man's land, you can go down to the low E string and into the open E. I just played 7, 5 on the low E, slid down to 3, and then open E. You get loads and loads of mileage out of that. You know, why not throw in a flat 5? So in other words, we're going 7, 6, 5, 3, open. I know we were supposed to be dealing at this point exclusively with the pentatonic scale, but you know, it's nice to have a little tasty thing going on there. Show us some licks then. Okay, so here's a lick. What I've got there, play 5 on the G, teasing that slightly sharp, 7 on the A, 7 on the low E, 5 to 7 on the A, pull off to 5 on the A, and then we've got this chromatic rundown. So that's 7, 6, 5, 3, open, and then I'm hitting the open B and high E string. Kind of gives us an E5 power chord there. So that's that double stop, where I'm holding 7 on the high E string and 8 on the B. I want to hit that twice, but the second time you want to tease that B string slightly sharp. And then that's 9 on the G, 9 on the D. Grace note hammer from 7 to 9 on the G. And then pull off to 7, back to 9, so, and then you hit that double stop again. Of course you can play it here. Same octave, same notes, but it sounds different. It's got a different feel to it. So this next lick. So we've got that compound bed. So what that is, you're bending 10 a whole step on the B string, and then you catch with your little finger, your pinky, catch 10 on the high E. You hit the B string again a couple of times and let it drop. Pull off to 8, and then 9 on the G, 8 on the B, T's that slightly sharp, and then you got 9, pull off to 7 on the G string, and then I could play a similar thing. So it's a grace note hammer from 7 to 9 on the G, back to 7 on the G, and then there's a grace note slide from 9, slide down to 7 on the G, on the D, sorry, and then pull off to 5. So, and then, so that's 7 on the A, 5 on the D string, T's that slightly sharp, and then that's 7, pull off to 5, back to 7. So if we combine this kind of musical no man's land with position 1 of the E minor pentatonic scale and the frying pan ideas that we looked at in the previous lessons, with the open string licks and, you know, some of the phrasing exercises, we've built up a huge vocabulary, a huge kind of playing area that we can then play in other keys. Let's hear what it sounds like combining some of these scale ideas and using as much of the fretboard as possible. So as you can see, in just 6 lessons, we've gone from soloing using just 5 notes to using a much larger area of the fretboard. In fact, the whole fretboard, and all using the E minor pentatonic scale. And as I say, if you combine that with the phrasing ideas we looked at in lesson 2, you should be developing a really strong foundation for a great blues rock vocabulary. So try some of these ideas for yourself.
Where's the bonus lick?
Right, so before I forget, the bonus lick, this is quite a dramatic slide from, well, what would be position 4 of the E minor pentatonic scale into position 1. So we go, I think that's what I played. So what we've got there, we bend the 10th fret on the B string up a whole step. We've got a bit of slidey vibrato, I guess. I mean, that's not a note, that's actually the flat 5. So that's from the blues scale. So it's a note that's not in the minor pentatonic scale, but it's fine to do it. So we bend up, and then we drop the bend, and as we drop the bend, we slide up to the 11th fret. So bend on the 10th fret, drop it, and immediately slide up to 11. And then back down to 10. And then pull off to 8. All on the B string. And then we've got 9 on the G. Then back to 8 on the B. And then, but instead of bending on the 10th fret again, instead of doing that, we slide all the way up to 15. We use the momentum of that string. We don't pick it again. You can pick it again, but really dramatic bend up to 15 on the B string. Bend that up a whole step. So we've got, and then this pentatonic lick, descending lick. So we've got 12 on the high E, 12 on the B, hammer to 15, 14 on the G, and back to 12 on the B. So, in fact, you can bar the top two strings on the high E. So that's, we finish that off with, so that's 12 on the G, see as that's slightly sharp, and then that's 14, pull off to 12, hit 14 again, pull off to 12 again, and then 14 again, and then hit that double stop where you bar 12 on the G and the B strings. One more time slowly. Well, that was interesting, wasn't it, Bouncer? Any questions? No, you're all right, mate. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out one of these videos for more content. See you next time. Bye.